What is up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida, coming at you live every Wednesday at 8 p.m., going over the market stats, the news you know about, everything about buying, selling, or investing here in Northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it the replay, just let me know in the comments below. I'll come back and answer them if you're watching the replay the best that I can. But this time here is for you guys. You know, I want to make sure, and then mostly I think this is for people that have bought a home with me and also looking to, they already own a home here and want to stay up to date on the most important stuff that is surrounding real estate, which affects a lot of the homeowners here, right? So I always try to do the news like that. Typically, as we go through our news stories, we start off with a national news story, then we go to the state of Florida, then we do something local. And I've got a couple good ones here for you today. One thing I want to take a look at, and I'm pulling it up right now, so I am doing a little bit of a longer intro before I get to the market stats, but one thing I want to take a look at is pending sales, because one of the national news stories that we're going to cover is exactly that. It's going to be that pending sales have actually gone up 4% from this time last year on a national level. So I want to just go ahead and take a look at our area here. I haven't checked this prior to here, a live reaction, I guess, just to see. I'm going to switch my screen here. Okay, so let's see. Now, data is always lagging, so this may change in like a couple weeks. Keep that in mind. So it may not be super accurate today, but hopefully it will be in the future. We'll just do, well, I guess let's do the whole area, and then we'll do St. Johns County. And I want to take a look at my pendings. There's a market pending, new pending sales. Let's just see what this looks like. Oof. Down for the area, 27%. So nationally, pending sales are up 4%. Locally, down 7-8 times that. That is a big, and that's from September of this time last year. Okay, yeah, they don't have the October. Well, yes, they have September's numbers out. I imagine this will, and just this is me being honest, right? It's not me trying to skew the data with you guys, but I know no one will let me slide on that anymore if I were to do that. But they revise these numbers all the time. I imagine that it'll still be a good double-digit pending sales being lower from this time last year, but I imagine it'll probably get a little more friendly than 27%. We'll see. I'll write it down to report on it next week. Hopefully I can remember that. Hopefully I see this note I make for myself. See what that changes into, because I'm interested as much as you guys are, right? I want to stay on top of all this kind of stuff. So that's an interesting news story, or that's an interesting data point here, is that pending sales are down significantly. And as you can see, the peak that we had here in 2021, tons of pending sales started to taper off as we got into the beginning of 2022. You can see that pending sales for 23, we had a peak of 2819. I mean, the last time we had that was essentially in April of 2018, and we probably had 50,000 people less living here. And as you can see, it's continued to go down in terms of pending sales. So, while I got this up here, let's take a look at closed sales while we got it here. So that's really interesting. So you would think with pending sales down so drastically that closed sales would be down in a similar fashion, if not more so. So yeah, I'm interested to see what the data looks like next week. The reason I'm bringing it up now is because there was a news story stating that. But even closed sales, you can see, I mean, look, peak of 23, we had 2932, and then the last time really was back in June, we had 2966 of 2018. So obviously these years, in reality, these years are anomaly years, what we're seeing here, you know. June of 21, we had 3,600 home sales in that month for our area. That's pretty crazy. And we're at 2,900. So you can see that these are outside the norm. We're kind of fluctuating here. Obviously, things have gone down. We're at 2,659 compared to wrong one. 2014. That says two. See, look, this is a perfect example of like how this data is kind of skewed. Like this one says 2014 and the top says 2,108. So either way, well, I'll take a look into it next week. But yeah, September 2108. Oh, sorry, that's from last year. My mistake. So down to 2014. Okay. Yeah, so once again, I mean, if you would see 27% down on pending sales, you'd expect that closings would be down just as much, but down only 4.5%. That wasn't the gut check that I thought it was going to be. Interesting. Okay. Well, guys, any questions about that, let me know. I'm going to go on to the next news story here, which, just to touch on this, let's see. Oh, here we go. Local businesses react as Florida's minimum wage increases to $14 an hour. So, we're talking about inflation a lot here. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. We're talking about inflation all the time, right? And how it relates to mortgage rates and cost of living and all that good stuff. And in a way, you can see here, everyone sees this initial headline, minimum wage increased to $14 an hour. 5 years ago, it was $8 an hour, which is kind of, or last 4 years, my mistake, $8 an hour, and it's $14 a day, and it's expected to go up to $15 an hour in 2026. So that's all fine and dandy. I think everyone should get a living wage, especially with how fast things have increased. You should expect over the last 4 years for the minimum wage to go up pretty significantly, considering everything else has, right? So, this guy, he owns a Urban Grind coffee shop in Jacksonville. As far as the cost for labor, it already takes a very high fraction of the revenue of small businesses. The rise from $12 to $15 over the past couple of years is a really big challenge. It's going to be a struggle for some of the smaller businesses. And I don't think that's a secret, right? That essentially are raising the cost of their labor, right? But that is probably going to be passed on to the consumer. So then it's going to kind of cause, like, hey, coffee right here, it's going to cost you probably, I don't know, 25 cents to 50 cents more than it would have in the past because he's got to pay these guys more, and girls. So in a way, it is inflation on top of the inflation that we have. And I think one thing a lot of people get confused is that, we talk about inflation like it's a thing that's here and then it's gone the next day. We always have inflation. It's just how much inflation do we have, right? The Fed's goal is to get inflation down to 2%. Doesn't mean that they're trying to get prices down. It's just they want to stop the rate of prices inflating every year to 2%. They haven't been able to achieve that for many, many years. Obviously, which is why everything's so expensive, right? Okay, on to the next news story here, guys. So this was interesting. St. Johns County long-term development plan rejected by the state. They say it's an insult to every resident. They took years putting this plan together for the 2050 comprehensive plan. I think I've covered this before in a live stream. The plan is St. Johns County's roadmap for development and growth over the next 25 years. It covers everything from managing new developments to improving the roads and planning sites for schools to go up. It's a 200-page plan, and the state rejected it. And the reason that they didn't comment on it, but they sent a letter to St. Johns County. This is so glitchy right now. The letter references a certain land development regulation included in the plan that the department calls to be too restrictive and burdensome to approve. The department referenced a law signed earlier this year that blocks local governments from passing restrictive and burdensome regulations for land development within a year after a hurricane makes landfall, allowing for streamlined construction of homes and other properties damaged in storms. Some of St. Johns County commissioners claim the rejection is a move by the state to open the door for more development across the entire state. That's really interesting. Part of the reason is that the part of the comprehensive plan the state took issue with would require any development in St. Johns County 40 acres or larger to have 10% of the land remained untouched. Right now, commissioners tell Action News Jax only 5% of that land would be protected from development. So, I mean, funny. I guess you got to fight. Like, we need to make sure that not all the land is developed, right? And that's obviously a 100% increase, but like you'd think they'd be protecting like 25%, like a quarter of the land here, and they're like, no, we want to keep 10. We want to keep 10, and the state's like, no, you can do 5. You can do 5. We'll do 5. That's not going to go over well with many counties in the state of Florida, because that's one of the biggest things that Floridians are probably rallying against right now is the development and potentially overdevelopment of certain areas, right? People say that about northeastern Florida. They just, in my opinion, they haven't gone to other places. They're not really familiar with overdevelopment but there is always that possibility that if we keep building, then we kind of ruin what we got here, right? And I think a lot of people aren't for that. And apparently there's, I think, 12 counties. Let's see. Yeah, there's more than a dozen counties in Florida that have joined a lawsuit in in a lawsuit against the state because of the law they claim could take away their powers of controlling development and growth in their communities. But St. Johns County isn't one of them. And St. Johns County, for many of you that live here in the area and follow my stuff, they've been several times accused of being in the coffers, right? They're getting the money from the developers so that they approve all of these new developments coming in. And very possible, allegedly, right? Allegedly, I'm not saying that. Other people are saying that. I asked for proof on it. No one can give me proof, but I'd like to see it, and I'd be interested if there was. Because I think government corruption is 100% a thing. But that is a big problem here in St. Johns County is, okay, hey, we're looking at our local government to slow down development, but our local government also has a responsibility to keep our area as affordable as possible. And with how many people are moving here to St. Johns County, to stop development altogether would be just completely irresponsible. You know, law of supply and demand. If we don't have that much supply, well, then prices will continue to go up at an astronomical rate like we saw these past couple of years when we had a very high demand and not enough supply. Now things have kind of balanced out a little bit. The market's softened a good bit. So that's a good thing. But if we still have this, if we stop building homes, we stop developing, we still will run into the problem in the next, let's say, 5 years, right? And obviously that's a long way from now, or is it? Depending on how you feel about it. But that's it's a reality. It's a double-edged sword. If you keep developing, you ruin what we got here. If you stop developing, the cost of what we got here becomes so high that most people here can't afford it. It really is rock and a hard place type of situation. And I want everyone to be able to afford a home here in St. Johns County. I'm really an advocate for affordable housing. Do I want to sell the $15 million properties? Yeah, if you're looking, you want to buy a $15 million property, I'll help you out. But I help everybody out. So if you want to buy a $300,000 property, I'm here for you as well. But that's a reality. If we stop building altogether, all the prices here will go higher, making it even more unaffordable. If we keep building, we run the risk of ruining what we got here. What do we do? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. We're going to go on to the next news story here. Oh, sorry. This is the news story I wanted to show here. NAR pending home sales report, 4% increase in August. So that's what I was referencing. So that was going to be my national news story there. St. Johns County approves $1.8 billion 2026 budget with property tax reduction, public safety expansion. So I wonder how we'll see that across our tax bill. But effective October 1st, the budget allocates $383 million from property tax revenue to invest in public safety, infrastructure, parks, and libraries. $9.1 million reduction in general fund of property taxes, $4.9 million increase in fire rescue funding, $20 million emergency response reserve to enhance hurricane and crisis readiness, and continued construction on the following: 4 new fire stations throughout the county, 4 new regional parks, and 1 new library branch and 2 new library hubs. More than $159 million is dedicated to capital improvements, including roadways, water, wastewater facilities, and critical infrastructure enhancements. That's great. That's what you want to see. I don't know. That's what I want to see. Hey, general fund property taxes are going down, but we're still going to spend money on stuff that we need, which all of that I don't have a problem with at all. That's all fantastic stuff. What do you guys think? I don't know. You think that's? I mean, the amount of money that they spend. I think I was looking at, if you're familiar with this area, if you live here, if you're in Nocatee or off US 1, probably very familiar with Pine Island Road. They just put a light at the intersection of Pine Island Road. Don't quote me on this. It's definitely in the millions, but I want to say they spent $2.8 million on that intersection, putting lights in for what? I mean, I guess you have 2 opposite roads, so they each get a light. 1, 2, 3, 4. And turn signals. So let's say they got like 6 signals and poles that put it up. Cost the county $2.8 million to put that up. How? I don't get it. What are they made out of? Either way, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about anything I'm covering here. I'm going to head on to the next news story here. And this one is in relation to Sing Out Loud Festival. So if you don't know, every year we have Sing Out Loud Festival, which is mostly a free music festival throughout the county, but mostly St. Augustine, where a lot of live music pretty much every single day throughout the month of September. It's a way for locals to get out and enjoy the town after a busy summer season. But we also have the Sing Out Loud Live Wildly Showcase, which drew 25,000 music fans to St. Augustine. I think a couple years when they first restarted doing it, brought 30,000 people. So a little bit of dip in attendance. I didn't go this past year. I went the first year when they had Mumford and Sons and the Black Keys. But this year they just had bands that I wasn't super interested in. But it's a great venue. It's a great little music festival here in town. It brings a good bit of money for a relatively historically slow month for businesses. So I'm a big fan of it. I think it's great. I think we should continue doing it. But it is a little bit of a stress, for the people that live downtown. But, you kind of knew downtown St. Augustine was a tourist area. And if you worked with me, I told you, So no secrets here, guys. But let's go on to the next news story. I got one more, and then I'm going to head off for the night. I had a busy day, I tell you what. Busy past 2 weeks, it seems, have just flown by. More development in St. Johns County. You drive anywhere around St. Johns County, you see them building left and right. It hasn't really slowed. If anything, I feel like the past 6 months, it's picked up. Hilton brand hotel rises among the Fountains development. So the Fountains development and Jacksonville Business Journal, you really need to stop with all these ads. This is what it's going to look like, but this is at the intersection of 95 and 210 in the northeastern part section of that. So if you're not familiar with St. Vincent's Ascension, it's going to be a part of that, but they're going to be putting a big hotel there. Honestly, I think that's a pretty interesting location for it, but it's going to be a home 2 suites by Hilton's. It's going to be mixed-use medical and retail development on the northeast section, slated to be completed in the first quarter of 2027. So the county continues to grow. The northern part of the county is booming. Oh my gosh, they're building all over the place. My neighborhood, West Augustine, I drive down, I'm all over this neighborhood, whether I'm walking or I'm riding my bike or I'm going on a jog or I'm just driving to work or whatever. Man, it seems like every time I go down one street, I have to do like, oh man, they cleared that lot. Oh, whoa, they did that too. It's every single day. I'm seeing more development here. It's very interesting to see like real time. So either way, guys, appreciate you being here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Going over the market stats, the news you need to know about, if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing here in northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. We had no questions today. We had a couple viewers. I appreciate you guys being here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. This is for you guys. So any questions or comments, leave them below. I'll see you next week. Have a good one.